And kind of like you were saying through your conversation with Assembly Member James Gallagher, that, you know, this is kind of rocking this tight-knit community, Marysville PD.
Tori, I hate to interrupt you. We're going to check back in with you here soon, shortly. We want to get right to that press conference at the Yuba County Sheriff's Department. They're going to be giving those updates that we want to know about with this officer-involved shooting. Let's listen in. This is happening right now at the Sheriff's Department there in Yuba County.
Everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Clint Curry. I'm the District Attorney for Yuba County. I'm also the current chairman for the Yuba Sutter Narcotics and Gang Enforcement Task Force, which we call NET 5. And before we get started, I just want to thank a few people for being here. Acting U.S. Attorney Michelle Beckworth, thank you for being here. Sid Patel, Special Agent in charge of the Sacramento FBI office. Bob Barris, Special Agent in charge DEA. Marysville Police Department Chief Sachs. Sutter County Sheriff Brandon Barnes. Yuba City Police Interim Chief Jim Runyon. Wheatland Police Department Chief Brian Whitmer. Chris Branscombe, Marysville Mayor. Thank you all for, and Sheriff Brandon Barnes from Sutter County. Thank you all for being here on such short notice. So a multi-year investigation by NET 5 culminated today in the service of of 20 search warrants in Yuba, Sutter, Tehama, and Butte counties. It's important to note about this multi-year operation that the targets, the suspects, the central suspects in this operation were part of transnational drug trafficking organizations that were moving methamphetamine and deadly fentanyl across the border from Mexico into our state, where it was harming our communities and our children. Tragically, this morning at one of the sites where a search warrant was being served, a Marysville police officer lost his life in the line of duty. And here to tell you more about that is Sheriff Anderson. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, DA Curry. Hi, my name is Wendell Anderson, Yuba County Sheriff. And again, thank you for being here. Sorry I have to sit up here and talk about this senseless tragedy. As DA Curry alluded to, this was a very prolonged investigation that was instigated by our NET 5 team, narcotic enforcement team, and its culmination led to 20 search warrants here in Yuba County, Sutter County, Tehama County, and Butte County. Today, during the service of one of those search warrants, the Yuba Sutter Regional SWAT team served a search warrant on Kestrel Way. Upon making entry into the house, there was an exchange of gunfire with an individual from inside the house, and one of those operators from the SWAT team was struck and later succumbed to his injuries at Rideout Hospital. The suspect was pronounced dead at the scene, and very preliminary, so very early in this investigation. We'll have more information coming forward in the preceding days. Obviously, this tragedy has just rocked our small community here. Marysville Police Department is a close ally of ours, friends of ours. This operator that was on our team is a very close-knit team comprised of officers from the Yuba City Police Department, the Marysville Police Department, and the Yuba County Sheriff's Department. Don't have a lot more questions or comments at this time. Like I said, it's very early on in the investigation, and we will have more information that we'll release very shortly. Thank you for your time. And again, this is a senseless tragedy. I'd like to introduce Chief Sachs from the Marysville Police Department. Chief.
As you all know, this is a sad day in the city of Marysville. We lost an officer today who was near and dear to our hearts. He was a 2-year veteran with our department, also a U.S. Army veteran. I appreciate the support from all the allied agencies within the region that have come to support us throughout this tragic time and the tragic loss that we have suffered. At this point in time, I'd like to just hope that everybody has their thoughts and prayers for our organization with this officer's family as we just traverse through this tragic incident. And you know, we will have more information probably tomorrow, but we are taking today to be able to honor him and mourn the loss of a loved one, a brother, a father, and just a close friend of ours. So that's all I have for you guys today.
Yeah, and if I could introduce Mayor Branscombe from the Maryville.
I'm Chris Branscombe. I'm mayor here in Marysville. I'd heard about this early this morning, and when I arrived at the hospital, I walked into a room of Marysville police officers with one of our sergeants on a knee saying a prayer for a lost officer. At that moment, I was thinking about a similar tragic moment when I remember a question being asked, and that question was, how do we find such men and women? Men and women who engage gunfire or walk into burning buildings, all on our behalf. Well, we don't find them. They step forward. They step forward as a central element in their life plan, all on our behalf. And wish you all be grateful. Thank you.
Okay. I know everyone's got a lot of questions. We still have a lot of questions. So it's good to keep in mind there are 2 investigations going on at this point. The first investigation is into the incident that happened at Kestrel Court this morning. And in charge of that is the Yuba Sutter officer-involved shooting investigation team. Because there was an exchange of gunfire, they will be conducting that investigation. That's led by the chief investigators from the Sutter and Yuba County District Attorney's offices. Within the next, I would expect 24 to 48 hours, we should be able to release names regarding that incident. But as far as exactly what happened inside of that house, it'll be probably months before we're able to tell you the whole story of what happened. So I ask for your patience with regard to that as we make sure that we know everything before we put that out. The second investigation is regarding this transnational drug trafficking organization. By the end of the week, I will put out a press release regarding the activity that went on today, the arrests that have been made. I can tell you that even prior to today, hundreds of pounds of methamphetamine had been seized, heroin, fentanyl, over $150,000 in currency. These were major players moving poison through our communities, and we couldn't just sit and watch it happen. We had to do something about it, and it's just tragic, and on all of us would just ask that you be praying for the officer's family and for his law enforcement community that's also grieving today. Thank you. We'll take a few questions. Sir.
We have information that this may be the first service death of a Marysville police officer in like 100 years. Is that accurate? And can you speak at all to the position that this officer held in the SWAT team? What was his role?
I can't as to the second, and as to the first question, I do believe it's been a very long time, Chief.
That's correct.
That is accurate. It's been over 100 years. Yes, ma'am.
Was the person or persons responsible taken into custody or shot?
The person that we believe shot the officer is deceased.
Was that person shot as well? The suspect in this case, was that person shot and killed, or how did they die?
I believe that person was shot and killed, but again, it's very early in the investigation.
Can you just elaborate a little more about this investigation, the Net 5 group, and the structure of that investigation?
So the Net 5 group has been around since the early 80s, and it is comprised of, there's 3 agencies that fund it, the Sutter and Yuba County Sheriff's Departments and the Yuba City Police Department. And it has officers and deputies from all of those agencies, and they have been in charge of narcotic and gang task force here in Yuba Sutter for decades and decades. So they work with their federal partners, with the DEA, on major cases, along with Bentif in Butte County, Colusa County, Yolo, and others that have regional task forces that are focused on narcotics trafficking.
You mentioned an exchange of gunfire inside when this happened. Was there just one suspect inside at that time? Are you able to share that information with us?
There were 2 people in the home, and one of them is deceased, believed to be the suspect that shot the officer, and the other one is considered a witness at this point, but it's very early in the investigation. Yes, ma'am.
Was the officer wearing a bulletproof vest?
I believe so.
Okay, and there were other people that were detained and arrested on scene. Can you talk about who they were?
Yeah, I'm actually not sure about that. Do you have information on that?
I can tell you there was one other individual inside the residence where the search warrant was executed. That person was detained, brought to the Sheriff's Department for questioning, and has since been released.
Okay. And then, so you guys are not releasing names yet of the officer?
Not at this time. We're giving the family time to grieve and make sure that everyone has been notified.
Can anyone share about your young officer? I understand he was a young father. He served the country before he served the streets of Marysville.
Yeah, he was a veteran of our armed services, the Army, I believe. Well respected, well liked, was a member of our law enforcement family here in the Yuba Sutter area.
And sorry, one more question. You said 20 search warrants. Can you, over what geographical area?
Sure. So we had multiple search warrants in Yuba County, Sutter County, Tehama County, and multiple search warrants in Butte County as well.
And these other search warrants were executed generally without any incident? Were there arrests?
It's too early for us to tell. Obviously, we've been focused on our slain officer, and we will follow up in the following days with numbers and stats from those search warrant services.
So to clarify, there were multiple search warrants executed today, not just the one here in Mary or in.
There were 20 search warrants executed today. Yes.
Was the suspect from Yuba County?
At this point, as I said, we're still working on identification, notification, and we'll release that information in the following days.
Were the other 19 search warrants today deemed, I guess, successful? No issues with those?
Well, we didn't have any altercations or incidents that I'm aware of at this point. But as I said, we've been focused on this incident, on taking care of our staff, taking care of the family of the slain officer, and we will have that information in the next couple of days.
All right, that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
As we come back out, that press conference just wrapping up, I want to recap with you what we just learned about that fallen hero, a 2-year veteran with the Marysville Police Department. We learned he was also an Army veteran, described as being well respected, well liked, at one point referred to as a friend to many there in the department. They are not releasing his name at the time out of respect of his family, giving his family time to mourn and, of course, notify other family members. This all unfolding, we just learned moments ago, while they were working on a transnational drug operation sting in numerous Northern California counties. This was the Yuba Sutter Regional SWAT team that served that search warrant where gunfire was exchanged. We also learned during this press conference that there were 2 people inside the home where that search warrant was issued. A suspect died on the scene after exchanging gunfire with that Marysville police officer, and then that officer died at a hospital. I believe that we are going to be speaking now with our Yuba County reporter, Kayla Moeller. She's there at the press conference. She's been listening in. Kayla, you asked some good questions here. I mean, what did you glean from that information that we just heard?
Yeah, Hunter. Well, I mean, you kind of hit the nail on the head there with it was a drug trafficking operation. They have been conducting search warrants between Sutter, Yuba, Tehama, and Butte counties. There's been 20 all day, and 19 of them they didn't have any incidents with, except for this one here in Olivehurst. When multiple agencies arrived to the house, there was an exchange of gunfire. It's unclear at this time who fired first. However, the suspect was shot, or they think that it was from gunfire. The suspect was found dead on scene. And again, the 19 other search warrants have gone okay. It's unclear at this time if the officer who was killed was wearing a bulletproof vest. They are not yet releasing his name. They say that they'll do that in the next day or two to give privacy to the family and respect for them. They're still, piecing things together themselves. They say that there are still some holes that they need to fill in. But again, this is all developing, and I'll continue to ask questions and keep you updated.
Yeah, Kayla, again, thank you for that. We know that you've been sitting in and literally just stepped aside after that press conference ended to give us those updates. So we appreciate your continued work here on this. We also have Tori Abadaka, who's been there live at the scene for us this afternoon. I believe that she's going to be joining us now with an update from Olivehurst from what she is learning. Tori, what can you tell us?
Just the amount of pain that was in their voices, just describing what happened out here. Right now we're on Kestrel Court where this all unfolded. That officer from Maryville PD who was shot and killed while conducting that search warrant that we now know is a transnational drug operation. And just to paint a picture for what this neighborhood is like, just moments ago we were watching a little boy, maybe 8 years old, with his backpack on, walking through this crime scene, and now you see a sheriff deputy walking through here. So it just tells you what this area is like. It comes as a shock to the people in this community. You heard from the police chief saying that they have not had an officer killed in the line of duty in over 100 years. I mean, that in and of itself, it just shows how much this is really rocking this community, and it's going to take some time for everyone out here to process it. People we've been talking with, saying their condolences to the loved ones of that officer. We see maybe an undercover unit right there moving out of the area, but we will continue to stay out here. Though what we're learning, we might not know really what happened during that search warrant for possibly months, as that investigation is still very active and underway out here in Olivehurst.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head there, Tori, because they said during this press conference just now that they're still going to be looking at every angle of this. And yes, months is how long it could be before we learn some of those specific details that I know so many people are wondering about right now. We appreciate that live update there from Olivehurst. And of course, as we brought this to you this afternoon, it was in the form of a social media post by Assemblymember James Gallagher. He breaking the news this afternoon to so many people. We want to show you what he said when he announced this death, this tragedy. He said, "This morning we have learned that one of our young, brave Marysville police officers has been killed in the line of duty. Our hearts and our prayers are with this young officer's family and our local law enforcement family." I actually just spoke with James Gallagher within the last hour, who stepped me through just the process that's happening right now, the grieving that's happening there in this community. He said that this doesn't happen often. Of course, as you heard, it's been over 100 years since they have lost somebody in the line of duty. I asked him, how the community was holding up. Here's what he had to say.
They're in shock, and I think every officer knows that when they go out there that this is a danger, that, as I said, their lives are on the line, and every day we get to go to our jobs and our work, and we're safe because of the work that, these men and women do every day.
And just to recap here, we are not going to know that officer's name until at least tomorrow. They're going to give his family time to grieve and tell the rest of their family about this tragedy before we learn more. James Gallagher also mentioned that he wants accountability. He also made sure to make that very clear when I spoke to him this afternoon, that accountability and coming together as a community is going to be paramount during this difficult time. An officer killed in the line of duty, undergoing a search warrant this afternoon with a SWAT team. We're going to be tracking this for you all day, of course, for the CBS 13 News at 4:30. To stay up to date, you can join us here on air or online. We're always streaming on CBS13.com. The Sheriff's Department, again, just wrapping up that press conference within the last 10 minutes. We've got reporters there, team coverage for you on the ground as we learn more about this officer and the tragedy with this situation that has unfolded this afternoon in Yuba County. This has been a special report here for KMAX 31 and CBS 13. Again, that breaking news, you can follow along on CBS13.com. We, of course, will see you right back here for your news at 4:30, and we'll update you as we get any more available information into this officer shot and killed in the line of duty.
Experienced law firm to bring the big fight.
With millions recovered every year.
Get a consistent powerhouse on your side.
Call Del Rio and Caraway, 855 car accident.
Your reporters in your community. CBS 13, getting you answers.
A mom dumps her kids at a daycare.
You left your children with